see, I agree.
Good evening. We'll call this meeting to order for the February 22nd, 2024 Apple Valley City Council meeting. Before we get started this evening, I want to take a moment to honor three heroes who lost their lives in the line of duty on Sunday. Officer Paul Elmstrand, Officer Matthew Ruge, firefighter Adam Finseth, doing their jobs to protect others when they paid the ultimate sacrifice Sunday morning. It's a stark reminder of the very real risks our public safety professionals face every day on the job. It asks that you keep their families, their friends, co-workers, and honestly all of our public safety community in your prayers in the coming weeks and months. Please join me in a moment of silence to honor and remember Officer Elmstrand, Officer Ruge, and firefighter Finseth. Thank you. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item on our agenda is to approve the agenda. Tom, do we have any changes?
Mr. Mayor, council members, good evening. No changes to tonight's agenda.
No changes. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
A motion from Councilmember Bergman, second from Councilmember Melander. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda carries. The next item is the audience participation portion of this meeting. This is for items not on the agenda. I did not grab the sign-up sheet. Do we have anyone who would like to speak? All right, seeing none, we will close the audience participation portion and we'll move on to the consent agenda. These items are considered routine and will be enacted with a single motion unless a council member or a citizen requests to pull an item. Council members, are there any items you'd like to pull?
No.
Anyone from the audience? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move. Second.
Motion from Councilmember Goodwin and a second from Councilmember Bergman. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda carries. We move on to the regular agenda, which is item 5A. And Pam has this item. These are resolutions reappointing our commissioners and committee members.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. As the city council is aware, the City of Apple Valley has 6 advisory committees which serve the city council. Each committee has 5 to 7 seats with staggering terms expiring on March 1st. In accordance with Minnesota statutes and Apple Valley City Code and resolutions establishing committees and membership terms, 10 members have terms expiring this year. The members with terms expiring are Cemetery Advisory Committee member Timothy Anderson, Jan Monroe. Parks and Recreation Advisory Member, Dave Freed. Planning Commissioners, Philip Mahowak and Becky Sandahl. Telecommunications Advisory Committee Member, Barry Berg. Traffic Safety Advisory Committee Members, Charles Graw and David McKenzie. And Urban Affairs Advisory Committee Members, Ann Arns and Sharon Schwartz. All members have expressed interest in continuing to serve on their respective committees. There are 6 resolutions which have been prepared for you, which will reappoint the members with expiring terms. All committees have 3-year terms expiring on March 1st, 2027. If the City Council is ready to reappoint all the members as presented, Council may adopt those resolutions with one motion, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Pam. Are there any questions regarding the reappointments? Do I have a motion to approve the entire slate?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Goodwin, a second from Councilmember Bergman. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5A carries, and Pam, you also have 5B.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On January 11th, the City Council authorized receipt of applications through February 16th to fill the vacancy on the Planning Commission with a 3-year term expiring March 1st, 2026. Because only one application was received by the date, staff suggested the City Council extend the application period through March 15th. For our listening audience who may be interested in volunteering to serve on the Planning Commission or any committee or commission, details regarding this vacancy and the application is on our city's website. Members of the Planning Commission must be residents of Apple Valley. If the City Council would like to extend the application period, staff suggests council make a motion inviting individuals interested in serving on the Planning Commission to submit an application to the city clerk by March 15th.
Any questions for Pam? If not, we would entertain a motion to extend the period for receipt of applications for the Planning Commission.
So moved.
Second.
A motion from Councilmember Melander, a second from Councilmember Goodwin. I might have a couple questions. You were up first, Tom?
Not a question, but a comment for anybody watching. I served on the Planning Commission for quite some time. I know that Mr. Bergman did as well. I found it to be very fulfilling. It's an interesting position. It has to do with land use and the future of Apple Valley. Apple Valley has the nice spot of having quite a bit of development still to go. It's not like we're dealing with porch setbacks and that some mature communities, Columbia Heights, some of the other ones, deal with, where it's all routine stuff. There's interesting, stimulating, and things that affect the future of the city that I'm hoping we all love. I sure do. So I'd encourage anybody that might be sitting on the fence to apply for this opening on the Planning Commission, because it really is a good deal.
Thanks. Councilmember Goodwin.
Thank you, Mayor. Do we have a park seat up too, Park and Rec Committee? Would this be an appropriate time to ask for?
We already have that. We have one out there already.
Oh, we've already
That
done
one's
that.
already
Okay.
out there as well.
Okay, I'm sorry. Forget it.
So I think the deadline is close to the same, I think.
I think so,
I
yes.
think it is. So on that application, you can indicate your first and second choices of committees. So
There you go.
could, if you were interested in serving, right, you could throw one application in and indicate a first and second choice and go from there. All right, we have a motion and a second. Pam, did you note who had those? Because I have forgotten. Thank you. So we'll just go. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Again, opposed, that item carries. That's the last of our regular agenda. We'll move on to staff and council communications. Tom, I know we have at least one staff item.
Once you get yours up.
We'll get, yep.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have two tonight. We would like to invite up our police chief, Nick Francis, and our city clerk, Pam Gaxeter, also has an update.
Perfect. Then we'll get, I know council's got a few comments as well. We'll get those after we get staff items done.
Okay.
Or as they fit in neatly in here. We'll see how it goes.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, first off, thanks for the moment of silence there at the beginning of tonight's meeting. Burnsville's loss is going to take a little while for all of us to recover from, so I appreciate just a little time there of reflection. I've been to a bunch of events this last week, from schools to Rotary meetings to council meeting to youth hockey games, and every single one of those has included a moment of silence, I think, which shows just the depth at which this tragedy has affected the community as a whole. So Burnsville was the epicenter of that tragedy. They lost 3 public safety professionals that day. If you move outside of Burnsville on the law enforcement side, some of the other agencies really close had people there. We had Apple Valley officers in the street under heavy gunfire, and we are very, very lucky that we did not lose any more. We're lucky that we didn't lose a large number of officers that day, and I'll count my blessings that our folks from Apple Valley were able to come home. Since then, our department has seen an outpouring of support. Our city, our community comes out like no other in good times and bad, and I would say businesses, school, community members, neighbors, friends, all of them are coming out right now, which is, it's appreciated, and it's probably needed more now than any time we've needed it in the past. My ask as the chief for the community is to support us, but also take that next step and stand with us. And there's a distinction there. Supporting us is one thing, standing with us is another. And we have so many opportunities, here comes the segue, to stand with us. Our department offers so many opportunities throughout the year to learn about us, to come and spend time with us, to get to know not just what we do, but who we are. And I think that's where true relationships and trust is built in the community, is through events, much like our Teen Academy, which is coming up. That's coming, and that is dedicated towards or aimed towards our teens who maybe they're interested in law enforcement, maybe they just want to know a little bit more about it. As a young driver, I was really interested to speak with the officers and kind of get to know what their advice was to young drivers and so on. So this is an opportunity we've held for a number of years to get kind of a behind the scenes look. It is partnered with the Apple Valley Police Department, the Rosemount Police Department, and this year the Dakota County Sheriff's Office. Students get to come in, get to meet our staff, get to play with equipment, get to do mock traffic stops, get to ask any question they want. It runs Tuesday night, 6 to 8:30 through the month of April. Registration is open right now, and we recommend folks go on the website. I believe it's about 25 is the cap. But we would be certainly happy if there was overwhelming demand and we needed to add a class or add more seats in there. So please, to the public, check that out. And I'll close with saying is this morning there was 263 different law enforcement agencies in the state of Minnesota recruiting police officers. So that doesn't mean 263 positions. Some, like Minneapolis, are recruiting, they're hundreds short. So there's no shortage of opportunities in Minnesota for the law enforcement side. Events like what happened in Burnsville, it serves as a reminder every day, like you said, of the sacrifices that these public safety professionals give and the sacrifices they're willing to make every single day. But I would argue it also serves as a motivator to step in and to be one of the providers of public safety. You think about some of the conflicts overseas, and that motivates people to serve. I would say we could use this as an opportunity to say this is the profession we have. Whether you are looking at law enforcement, fire, EMS, EMTs, we're hiring. There's big signs. We've been hiring. We're all doors wide open. We're hiring, and we would love to have people come and learn about us a little bit more. So with that motivator, again, we will continue to offer opportunities for the public to come and get to know us and learn about our professions. I know the fire department does a ton of them too. Our paramedics are very active in the community, letting people know what they do and how they do a great job. And we'll continue to offer those in hopes that people will not only support us, but stand with us and maybe eventually work with us. So we're, as a profession, public safety in general is pretty short and pretty understaffed, and so it's going to take us a number of years. So we'll start with the youngest in the community and say, hey, if you want to learn about us, come and the door's open. So appreciate the opportunity.
Go ahead.
See, I had another question. SROs, where are we with those?
Our SROs are still in the schools. We're working on some legislation.
I'm talking about the legislation.
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
Yeah, the stakeholders, the state stakeholders are, have a united front from the law enforcement side, at least, that they're in the room and having conversations, and everyone's pretty optimistic that
Okay, good.
some relief will be had.
Thank you.
Councilmember Bergman.
Thanks, Mayor. Nick, in regards to this Teen Academy, I think it's phenomenal. The question I have for you, and it correlates, but it's at a different time frame. We in the past, or the city in the past, has had the Citizens Police Academy, which is the adults. I took it, I was part of it when I was on the Planning Commission. It was very interesting. Mine person next to me was hearing impaired, so we got to have, I think it's Miss Sint, S-I-N-D-T, who used to be a firefighter. His wife was the sign language person, but I just wondered, are we still going to continue that program also?
Yes, yep, that one takes place in the fall. We've had good attendance with that every year, and we partner with Rosemount on that one as well.
All right, thank you.
Nick, before you return to your seat, just two other quick things. I got to see Councilmember Keeley from Burnsville last night, and was complimentary of all of the mutual aid.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys have been a big part of that, but you guys are providing all of the service between the Dakota County agencies and the others to Burnsville so that the rest of the staff there can take their time. And, that's coming off of your own folks, right, being in the heat of the battle kind of thing
Yep.
on Sundays. So just thanks everybody for stepping up and taking care of your own through this as well. So the work's been noticed and appreciated, and we appreciate it too. The other thing is, I've had a number of people just reach out, hey, how do we donate? I think LELS.org has a Benevolent Officers Association. We know that's a legit one.
Yep,
As much as you hate to see it, and if something bad happens, we also get those who want to profit off of the bad. And so we know that's a good one, right? We know there's other good ones out there.
yep, yeah, and I know, on Burnsville side, Prince of Peace is, if you're a business
Yeah.
and you're,
Right.
you wanna, donate a case of water or a crate of water or whatever, Prince of Peace has taken that in and they're doing great things with it. They run a shelter or a food shelf out of there. So people that wanna give something, there's opportunities to give that is gonna help heal the community as a whole.
I think Burnsville's website has a pretty good running list of where things are going on and those kind of opportunities for people to check that out as well.
Yes, and as we get closer to the funeral here, those details will come out. What I've seen through Burnsville is, the website, burnsville.org/community updates.
Yep.
So if people want to tune in, again, it affects everybody around. Burnsville is the hub, that's where, this took place, and they are leading the information exchange and getting that out.
Correct. Thank you. John, do you have something else before we?
One other thing, Clint, I discussed it with Clint last night. I saw it on the television, and I also believe television our local television has done a really good job of being upfront, honest, and personable about all this situation. The Bureau, I think, has also done a really good job to keep everybody informed, but what's really nice is everybody's hugging around everybody and doing this. My question to you, to everybody, or a comment to everybody, was I also last night, and I'm one of the ones that when the legislators decided to allow Minnesotans to have the black license plates, okay, I like them. Well, they were hard to come by they're still hard to come by, but the license plate that's out there for public service officials or can be purchased. Nick, you might want to talk about it. It's the Plate 100, the group that has the plate. It says public service underneath, and it's got a red line underneath. My understanding last night of watching this, those plates don't go to the state, but there's a percentage that goes to law enforcement, police, and ambulance, and that public service. And that's how these three officers, and there may be other things involved in it, but these three officers, because of those plates being sold, each of them money was given to them in the excess of $50,000 each of them. So if you would like to say something in regards to those plates, I think they're a way of supporting what's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. There's all sorts of different special series plates, and folks can pay for the registration, but if they want to pay for the special series plates, whether you're an outdoorsman and you want to donate to the DNR, you're a veteran, or you support or are part of the public safety family, that money goes and then is directed, to needs of public safety. So that's a great point and a great way to
Thank you.
honor. Yep.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks.
Tom, you had something over there.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to reiterate what you had already started to say, that after this event, there's been ongoing needs in the city of Burnsville, and certainly our police department has been dedicating personnel to assist in covering shifts. Also, the fire department, many fire departments have put together crews and are using basically 12-hour shifts, manning, staffing the needs for fire in the city of Burnsville. And the city of Burnsville has also asked for some non-public safety personnel to also assist. And so I think they have sent that out to about 40 different communities to say, do you have anybody else that can assist us? So under the existing mutual aid agreements that we have and the standing resolution that we have that allows us to allocate our resources outside of our city boundaries when necessary, we'll probably be doing that as well. So we want Burnsville to get back on their feet as best they can. We're all there to help them, support them, and get through this terrible tragedy. So we'll continue to do so until they tell us they no longer need the help.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Council, any other items? Councilmember Goodwin?
Yes, I have, I think, a very important item. I talked to Councilmember Lander about this today, and I also talked about it with City Administrator Lowell. There's a very troubling piece of legislation up. I think it's troubling, having to do with zoning or taking away zoning rights or whatever. And when I stopped in to see Mr. Lowell about it this morning, I caught him just before he was going to a meeting where they were discussing that. So I'm wondering if Mr. Lowell can tell us anything about that meeting today and just what's going on.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Goodwin, happy to do so. Councilmember Goodwin is referring to a bill that has been proposed at the Capitol. It's House File 4010 and Senate File 3980. And both of those include a number of items that would preempt city's general authority over land use matters.
Nice.
And these are troublesome provisions.
That's what we do here.
I won't read the whole bill, but a couple of items that stand out as concern. It would set a base level of density allowed on any residential lot by right. That would be at least 2 units per lot, and in certain cases, it could be as much as 10 units per lot. It forces administrative approvals for projects that meet the standards in the bill, and it prohibits public input on the approval process.
Could you hit that last one more time?
Yeah,
So
hit
all-
that.
What might be most disturbing is this statement here.
So once the provisions of the bill would be in effect, it would force administrative approvals for projects that meet the standards of the bill language and prohibits public input on the approval process. And that is certainly counter to the way we have operated in the Planning Commission that was just mentioned. We pride ourselves on the public input that is provided in those forums, and this is very troublesome to see that might be limited. It also limits the minimum lot size requirements for a city such as ours to 4,000 square feet, which is smaller than normal. Requires that all cities accept accessory dwelling units on all residential lots regardless of size, and allows property owners to subdivide their lots by right. Prohibits off-street parking from being required close to major transit stops, and limits off-street parking minimum requirements to 1 spot per unit in other areas. Allows multifamily buildings to be built up to 150 feet tall on any commercial zoning district. And it broadly prohibits design standards for residential development and eliminates minimum square footage and floor area ratio requirements. So cities throughout the state are very concerned. The League of Minnesota Cities, Metro Cities, and the Municipal Legislative Commission are all organizations that we belong to that assist us at the Capitol. They are all in opposition to this, and there needs to be some moderation in this bill. This would significantly change the way that we do business. You will know that the city operates under a 10-year comprehensive plan. All cities in the metro area have a 10-year comprehensive plan that sets forth in a very prescriptive way our planning objectives. It matches the infrastructure capacities by increasing density in the way that this could potentially allow. Our water system could be impacted, our sewer system could be impacted, stormwater requirements could be impacted. So we just believe that this hasn't been very well thought out in the way that this would affect cities. If they wish to go these directions, it's going to need to be a longer lead time. We're going to need to update our comprehensive plan, assess our infrastructure to make certain that it can accommodate additional densities. But certainly a number of things here that are troublesome, and we just want to make sure that the public is aware of this conversation going on at the Capitol and to weigh in, either in favor or against these types of provisions.
Thank you, Tom. Councilmember Bergman.
Thanks, Administrator Lowell. Who's the sponsor of this bill? I've heard about it, but I haven't really paid attention to know whose name and signature is with this.
I can look up the actual author. What I've been told is that it has a broad support, and that support includes certainly Housing First, an organization that used to be called the Builders Association that has changed its name. It includes the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce. It includes I've heard the Sierra Club. I've heard a group called Neighbors for More Neighbors, and many other folks that are lining up, and that this is a bipartisan supported bill. So this isn't just one party or the other advocating for this. So it appears that the number of supporters has certainly grown over time, and oftentimes these kinds of bills do get floated, but eventually they go nowhere. This one appears to have more momentum, and we're expecting some changes to occur this year, and we need to have some revisions to this bill to make it more workable for cities like ours.
Councilor Good, did you have something else, sir?
Yes, I did, Mayor, thank you. When this bill gets to the point where we think it's going to move forward, or maybe before that, I'd like you to come back to this council and report on that, so we can at least tell our local legislators what our feeling is, and perhaps the city council could take a position on
I
it.
should already know.
Well, yeah, but I think we should take a position
Right.
on it, so there's no misunderstanding about it.
Yep.
Now, I can't control how anybody votes at the state legislature, but if we take a position as a city, and our legislators know it, at least they know where the people who they represent in this city, how we feel. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Councilmember Melander.
Government overreach has been a concern of mine for quite a while. I think that I have a lot of folks feel the same way I do about I want to live my life with a minimum of government supervision. If what I'm doing influences my own life, that's fine, but I've got a right for my own life, and I don't have, other folks don't have the right to infringe on my right to live my life if I'm not hurting anybody else. Under the guise of doing good, frequently bad things happen. I had the privilege of some excellent English teachers over my school life, and the word that comes to mind is afterclap. There's you hear a bolt of lightning, boom, and frequently there's a reverberation. That's the afterclap.
Yeah.
So you do something and you think, wow, this is going to be great. Well, the afterclap is the natural and inevitable follow-up is something that you don't like, that's not so good, but you can't have the first one without the second one. So should this go through, it's going to be devastating for, I mentioned planning before, for the rights of cities to drive their own bus, to make their own decisions, to work, to decide on their own future, to have impacts on how their own city is run. And it's with, I'm sure, some kind of noble motivation, but I don't think it's carefully thought through. And God hope that they don't carry this farther. I think in their zeal and the lack of somebody pulling on the other side of the rope, the legislature has kind of gone crazy here. And it's in any negotiating situation, inevitably somebody else is pulling on the other end of the rope, and you're not pulling on your end of the rope, and that'll come back to bite you. So I would hope that there'd be some moderation and some consideration of government overreach when it comes to this. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Tom. The only thing, go ahead, Councilmember Goodwin.
Well, I'm looking at my own experience. I've lived here 44 years, and I lived the first 21 years in a single-family neighborhood, and that's what I wanted. Well, the kids left. My wife and I got older. We didn't want to take care of a swimming pool anymore in a big yard. So what did? We went to essentially multifamily housing. We went to a duplex. I have no problem with duplexes and townhouses and apartments to a certain degree. But this nonsense where they can go into a single-family neighborhood and somebody can, in theory, under this bill, if you live in a single-family neighborhood, you could have a neighbor that decides, well, maybe I should have a duplex here. Just build one. Or convert their house to a duplex or something. This thing is just insane. And that's why, and I've talked to Mr. Benetti about it a little bit too, and I'm sure that Mr. Benetti and Mr. Lowell are going to be following it very closely, but this thing is scary. It is absolutely scary.
Just to wrap this up with, this is one of what I believe is, Tom, 10 or 12 in that list of preemption bills, I'll call them for lack of a better term, but really looking to move power out of what cities can control and really taking it to the state, which might in some ways sound good to some people, but I want to think about that, right? We've had these chambers full when we developed the old golf course, right? We took public input, we got to a better place. I've testified on a number of bills at the Capitol, right? And there's a process for input there, but it doesn't allow you to have the same level of voice and input as a typical citizen would have walking into these chambers, finding me at the grocery store, right? Find any of us at the grocery store, come in and talk about what they want in their neighborhood. And so this is probably the most impactful one. I would say all those preemption bills, though, have some level of the same thing where, you know, it's a one size fits all, but it is taking away what I think works best in local government, which is whatever decision I make or we make, right? I have to go live with in every part of town I go to, right? I have to go have dinner with these people at a restaurant. I get to see them there. I get to go to the office and talk to them there. And we lose that. Are your state legislators gonna be as responsive and as available to you when you have something going on in your neighborhood? I don't think so. And so I think that's my fear, is this bill is one of them, but it's this overarching trend. It started last year, right? I would say the cannabis bill last year was a prime example of wanting to push that responsibility to the state and taking away cities' ability to regulate an intoxicating substance. And we're seeing more of that. So that's my bigger concern. Tom, did you have something over there?
Just to answer the prior question, so there are a number of bills that are together proposing what I described. House File 4010 and Senate File 3980, authored by Representative Alicia Kalowski and Senator Susan Faw. And then the other one of concern is House File 4009, Senate File 3964, called the Missing Middle Housing Bill, authored by Representative Larry Kraft and Senator Nicole Mitchell. So those are the bills in particular that we're concerned about.
And I would say that none of these, at least that I've seen, have anything that tell me this will solve our housing problem. None of these address affordability. None of these address the actual missing middle. We are taking away some control, and we somehow think that's going to fill in a gap. I don't have proof of that. So, Councilmember Bergman, did you have something else?
Yeah, and very good presentation there, Mayor, on that point. I sit on a committee that has a lot of cities involved in it. We represent 6 other cities along with Apple Valley. I think maybe some of the state legislators ought to sit and listen to what all these other cities have when airplane noise goes array. They, right now, the general public wants a whole lot of meetings. They had them a number of years ago, and it gets really vocal when people aren't heard. So I would hope sincerely that the state legislature starts listening to residents, because the residents in a little while are going to be beating the doors down again, and maybe they'll learn something, and instead of trying to shove things down the residents' throats like certain other government entities like to do. So I hope this does not go through. But I've sat in a number of meetings in the years past, in the time that I've been appointed to the city, and it gets pretty dicey. And so I don't want that same experience come here in the local level, because then it is really going to get nasty, and maybe for once our state legislators will learn something. So.
Thanks everyone for the discussion. We'll move on to the calendar of upcoming events, and our next informal city council meeting is Thursday, March 14th at 5:30, with our next regular city council meeting Thursday, March 14th at 7 p.m. Pam.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I did want to give just a quick, brief update regarding the presidential nomination primary.
I got sidetracked there. Thank you.
That's okay. Since this is the last meeting before the primary, which will be held on March 5th, the polls will be open that day from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. But for any folks that are interested in receiving an absentee ballot today, they can contact Dakota County Elections The municipal center is also open for anyone interested to direct ballot. That would be Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And direct balloting is the process whereby after you fill out your ballot, you would insert the ballot into the tabulator yourself. We will also be offering extended hours on Saturday, March 2nd from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and on Monday, March 4th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I do want to just remind voters that with the presidential nomination primary, all voters must select one of our three major political parties. The ballots only have that particular party's candidates on the ballot, so they will either have to select Democratic Farmer Labor Party, Legal Marijuana Now Party, or Republican Party, and then they must certify that they are in general agreement with the principles of the party for whose candidate they are willing or wanting to vote. So I don't want anyone to be surprised if they go to the polls or request an absentee ballot. They will need to declare their party. Who would have access to knowing the party would be election judges in completing and filling the request for ballots, as well as the chair of each major political party. If you select that party, the chair of that party will get your information as well. And I just want to make sure that voters are aware of that too. And that's all I have today.
Thank you, and thank you for the graces. I forgot about you there. But seriously, between you and the election judges and everybody, right, we have very well-run elections, and we appreciate that and the work that goes into them and your experience behind that. And we will miss you in future elections, so.
After next year.
I think she ought to stick around for the
After
rest
next
of the
year.
All right, calendar of upcoming events. We have a motion to approve the calendar of upcoming events. Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Bergman, a second from Councilmember Melander. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, that item carries. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Bergman, second from Councilmember Goodwin. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And
Aye.
we're adjourned. Thank you.